Hello, friends and colleagues. Good morning. If people could please find a seat. I know there are sort of a scarcity of seats in here, but I do see a couple empty chairs up here at the front. So please take a seat and join us for this session. I'm really pleased today to have the opportunity to moderate this plenary session at eLearning Africa 2024. Today we are going to be speaking about navigating the future, transformative strategies for education, training, and skills development in Africa. We have a fantastic panel lined up today to share perspectives from throughout the continent and also at the global level. I need to inform you that unfortunately the permanent secretary from Rwanda is unable to join us today. That's okay though, because it's going to allow us more time for exchange, for questions, and for discussion. So we will bring in questions and comments at the end, and looking forward to a sort of vibrant discussion this morning. Also, I wanted to say that unfortunately, my counterpart at UNICEF, Frank Van Keppel, can also not be with us at the last minute. So he is replaced here by his colleague Charles, who's the education chief in Rwanda. And Charles is going to start us off today by saying a few words about the UNESCO-UNICEF Global Initiative, Gateways to Public Digital Learning. Charles, the floor is yours.
Okay, go to the, okay. That we can do. Thank you, Mark. Good morning. It's late afternoon, right? It's afternoon, everybody. My name is Charles Avellino. I'm the Chief of Education, as Mark said, in Rwanda. My colleague Frank, who has been working on this initiative for a long time, it's not able to make it, unfortunately, but I will be able to say a few words, and I will pass it over to a little bit for additional information to Mark, because this is a global initiative. The Gateway, it's a global initiative that is also applicable at the regional level, and it's the intention is to make learning gateway for public learning in a global initiative that UNICEF and UNESCO has led to make sure that the governments and partners all over the world and regionally make digital content available so that children can have the opportunity to learn the same way as they would have the opportunity to learn when they go to schools. So in terms of how things have evolved over the years since this initiative was launched in 2022 at the UN General Assembly, I have a few examples that I can do, but I'll pass it over to Mark to say additional. But I know that the process has already kicked off. In Egypt recently, there was an important meeting that took place where partners were able to learn from each other and share experiences, both in what is working and what is not working well, so that when they go back to their countries, they can learn from those experiences. So maybe, Mark, you can say a little bit more about the Gateway, so then I'll pick up from that point if there's any additional information. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Charles. So again, unfortunately, Charles's counterpart at UNICEF, Frank Van Keppel, cannot be here. But I wanted to share a little bit about what Frank was prepared to say. And he was going to speak about a technology that was radically new in human history. It was marvelous in many ways, but it was also dangerous. It was giving rise to torrents of misinformation. It was polarizing societies on sensitive issues of immigration, religion, and race. It was regularly used to spread hate and amplify anger. It allowed people to feel like they knew celebrities and fueled celebrity worship. It gave unremarkable and often uneducated people with fringe ideas regional and even national followings. It captivated children and adults alike. Many people said its grip on people's attention bordered on addiction. Parents said it was distracting from and often undermining education. It was spreading false information about health, including information about a deadly and highly contagious influenza virus. It was often used to convince reasonable people of outlandish things, such as one instance when an entire country became convinced that there was an alien invasion of Earth was underway. Bad actors used it to commit financial crimes and fuel Ponzi schemes. It was elevating the voice of authoritarian leaders who disdained democracy and sharing power. What had looked, at first glance, like a technology that would propel humanity to new heights was, in many ways, tearing our societies apart. You all know the technology I'm speaking about, right? I'm speaking about the radio. People genuinely did not know what to do. It started to look like this new technology might not carry us to a bright future, but a very dark one. Any guesses which country had more radios per capita than any country in the world in the 1930s? It was Germany, and we all know the horrors that came in the 1940s. In the USA, also in the 1930s, more than 30 million people would tune in to pro-Hitler, hate-spewing radio broadcasts of Father Charles Coughlin, a Detroit priest who was turning American democracy on itself. Is some of that starting to sound familiar? People were so worried there were major movements to ban the new technology, to block or to heavily regulate the airways and spectrums on which this new radio technology depended. But a pioneering group of people, including intellectuals, technologists, educators, and government authorities, became convinced that the solution was not banning the new technology, but harnessing its magical capabilities to advance the public good. And what was that innovation? It was public radio. First with the BBC, and then public broadcasters began rolling out and scaling up in countries around the world. These innovations are still with us today. The mission statements of most public broadcasters are to educate first, to inform second, and to entertain third. When the TV was invented and spread like wildfire around the world, public broadcasters were right behind them. They helped ensure this technology pointed us to a more informed, educated, and more pluralistic societies. We saw the birth of educational TV broadcasts. I, myself, am a beneficiary of Sesame Street, which was aired in my small town in Colorado, where I'm from, and I'm sure that many of you in this room remember public television broadcasts that helped you to learn, to understand how to live in a society with diversity. But now I ask, what about our latest technological marvel, the internet and AI technologies? Where are the public places and public content for public good on the internet? We are 25 years. I know it varies on countries, but we are 25 years, in some countries maybe 15 years, into a digital revolution. And we're at a reality, folks, where there is often no public place for public education on the internet. We can fix this. We've done it before. And that is what this initiative that we run with UNICEF is all about. We are working with governments to help them to support education in online and digital mediums. I think we can all agree that if there's an 8th grader who wants help in mathematics, that 8th grader should have a clear place to go to get content to advance his or her education. If there is a 10th grader who is studying biology, it should be very clear where that person can go to get educational content. We did an analysis with UNICEF. We looked at how many countries even have public digital learning platforms. Many countries do not. Many countries did launch small-scale initiatives to start public digital learning platforms during COVID-19, but in our analysis, at least a third of those platforms have since been shut down and are no longer supported. So I'm going to use the rest of this time to just give a little bit of an overview about what the Gateways Initiative is and how we want to work with all of you to help ensure that when students, teachers, and families cross the digital line, they are still supported. There is still public education. This slide is probably not unfamiliar to anybody in this room. We know that we need these 3 key ingredients to make digital learning a reality. We need connectivity, we need capacities, and we need content. A lot of the times, the discussions about digital learning unfortunately stop and end with connectivity. We know that many people are unconnected, and this is an urgent problem that needs to be solved, and there are a lot of global initiatives meant to help ensure universal connectivity. There's an entire UN organization called ITU that's dedicated to this mission. This is a mission, though, that falls outside the mandate and the authority of public education officials. When it comes to capacity, capacity, of course, concerns education, but it also transcends it. People need digital skills and capacity for reasons of health, for all sorts of different reasons. It's something that includes education, but goes well beyond it. But what about content? Content falls fully under the authority of education officials. This is something that we as educators and as technologists can do right. We can ensure that public education is supported online and in digital spaces. And that's what our initiative is all about. What challenges do we address? Many different challenges. We know that the current reality is, yes, there is educational content online. However, it often sits behind paywalls and is very expensive to access. We know that it often requires very high bandwidth, which we know that our students and teachers do not always have. They often have intermittent connectivity. We further know that a lot of the free applications are not, in fact, free. They're sucking up students' data. They're an incursion into their privacy. We know that a lot of the content that's available now, it comes from only a handful of countries, and it does not reflect the cultural diversity of our societies, nor the linguistic diversity. Finally, we know that a lot of this content does not accommodate students with learning or physical disabilities, and public digital learning content can and should do a much better job of supporting that. We believe that public digital content should be like focaccia bread, which is delicious if you have not tried it. It's like pizza without cheese. We use this as just an acronym to help understand what we think the main pillars of excellent content should be. It should be findable. It should be free. A lot of countries do have some public digital learning platform or content, but nobody knows it exists, so it's not used. So findable is key. Free, of course. Organized, curriculum-aligned, accessible, controlled. Current means it's kept up to date. It is instructive and pedagogically appropriate. And it is adaptable and changeable using what is great about a digital medium, which textbooks, for example, could not do. We're concerned with content, but we focus on platforms. Why do we focus on platforms? We focus on platforms because platforms are what make content findable and usable. There is content everywhere, on a YouTube channel, on a WhatsApp group, on this website over here. Platforms can bring that content under a single roof and help learners, teachers, and families find what they need efficiently and quickly. It can also create a space where people are sure they are safe, that the content is going to be quality controlled, that the content is going to be age appropriate, that the content reflects national values and mores. I also want to underscore the point that we at UNESCO and UNICEF do not envision a world where these digital technologies are going to replace schools and universities. We know that vital work happens at schools, socialization, acculturation. We wrote an entire book called An EdTech Tragedy, which I presented actually here 2 years ago, to explain what happens in a world without schools. It's not good. So we see these digital learning platforms not as working to circumnavigate schools, which is often what a lot of digital content is trying to do, and instead work to improve and enrich the important work that happens in schools. Finally, we believe our initiative is aligned with a lot of the standard-setting documents coming out of UN organizations and that have been agreed by your countries here in Africa and countries around the world. You see slides up here of the UN Secretary General's Roadmap on Digital Cooperation, the coming Global Digital Compact, and a number of other standard-setting documents that call for more digital commons, digital content that advances the public good. And where else is a more powerful place to establish digital commons and advance the public good than in education? So our Gateways initiative, I think you understand the rationale. I hope you understand its importance. We feel it's extremely important. What are we doing? We have 3 core components that we are working with your countries to do. The first is we want to establish a map that shows where digital learning platforms exist and help to share information about them. For those of you sitting at your tables, think for a moment, I did this yesterday, think if you can, of 2 countries that neighbor your own, just in your head, 2 countries. You got them in your head? 2 countries that border your country. Now I would like you to ask yourself, do you know the public digital learning platform used in those countries? You are all EdTech specialists. This is our field, our job. And I myself, I don't either, because there's no information about this. But if I ask you to name the public radio broadcaster, you might know. The public television station, you might know. But we don't know for public digital learning. It's important because when we can see what is available and we can learn about it, we can be inspired. We can build our platforms better. We can look at what our neighbors are doing in countries halfway around the world and understand the innovations that are happening in this space. Innovations that are often driven by the public sector, not just the private sector. That's component 1. Component 2 is about helping countries, as Charles mentioned, learn and share together. How do we do this? Every month we feature the experience of a particular platform through a webinar. It's just a 90-minute tight webinar. We looked at Egypt, we looked at Uruguay. We're going to be looking at countries every single month to share the experiences they have learned, lessons that they have drawn, things they wish they had done differently, things they're planning for the future. Very valuable for everybody in this room. We also do study visits, and this is where we bring people together in person, public officials responsible for public digital learning platforms, to share their experiences and lessons that they have learned in their national context. I just was in Egypt about 10 days ago to do a study visit with about 23 countries that we assembled in Cairo, and we were learning about the Egyptian Knowledge Bank. This is a public digital learning platform that now benefits tens of millions of people across Egypt. Egyptians all recognize it, teachers use it. It's a fantastic public resource for education, and they shared what lessons they have learned. They shared the mistakes they have made, and they shared what their sort of future plans are. On top of that, they offered to share content and technology that had been developed in Egypt with their neighbors. They have a lot of excellent Arabic language content. They offered to share it with others. So Gateways is a platform for this sharing and interstate cooperation around public digital learning. Finally, we host an annual gathering at UNESCO called Digital Learning Week. We will be meeting from the 2nd to the 5th of September this year and sharing ideas about public digital learning platforms. That's component number 2. Finally, the last component. It's about norms and standards. If I ask people in this room, what is a public digital learning platform, I'm probably going to get a lot of very different answers. We want to establish some sort of orientation and guidance about what are the key things that should be in a public digital learning platform. And I think that Fakasha, that analogy that we used with free and open curriculum aligned, these are some of the signposts that we want to establish with these norms and standards. So, slide's not clicking anymore. I leave you with that. There's information about this on the UNICEF website, on the UNESCO website, and we are asking countries to join this initiative. Joining is very simple. You fill out a template letter, you send it to UNESCO and UNICEF, and you are part of this global community to ensure that when we meet here again at eLearning Africa in 5 years, I hope there's not a country in the world that doesn't have a vibrant public digital learning platform. We need to reclaim the possibilities of the internet and harness them for the public good and for public education. It's a common sense choice. Thank you very much. I'm sorry that I have to wear 2 hats here, a moderation hat and a speaking hat. But it's now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. It's Monjeni Tamara Manda. Monjeni is an entrepreneur and a student of geoinformatics in Zimbabwe, and she is going to be sharing her story with all of us and a bit about the way her education has helped her as well as technology. Monjeni, the podium is yours.
Can you imagine I became a technical expert in just 2 years? Where do you think I would be if I had the access to technology in 23 years? We don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, all protocols observed. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Let me first thank Rebecca and your team. I never imagined standing in front of people like what I'm doing today. It was always my dream to be in front of people, listening to me, actually. I was born in Shurugwi, a small town, 23 years ago. In Shurugwi, societal expectations have impacted girls' dreams, lives, expectations, and opportunities. Girls are expected to get married as soon as they finish high schools. Emancipation of girls has never been achieved in my community. Girls are expected to be mothers. They're expected to have families. No one ever wished to see a girl being a CEO, being a director, having her own company. Ladies and gentlemen, girls are dropping out of school, engaging in sexual activities, named sex workers, all in love of money. Shurugwi town is a mining town, and mining activities are a source of living. Boys are dropping out of school. Boys are dropping out of school, engaging in illegal gold mining activities for them to gain money. But what is money without knowledge? mining activities not only are affecting the social life of people, but also affecting the economic life of people in Shirugwi. Mining activities are contributing to global climate change impacts. Of course, we blame the global north of these climate change impacts, but we're also contributing by the activities that we are doing. Ladies and gentlemen, I can say it all started home. The people you associate with, the surroundings, impact your future. I can say I'm blessed to have supportive parents. The parents that always wishes me to have a better life, to change, to challenge the societal norms. Not only that, but in all my life, I have met mentors that always encouraged me to push, to have a better and different mindset. When I was at the end of my high school, my geography teacher encouraged me to follow the path that I am. Unfortunately, I didn't know that the degree I'm doing was more technical than what I thought, because when I applied, I just liked the environmental conservation part, but I didn't know that it's more of geoinformatics, using the technical skills to solve the environmental issues. To my surprise, I wasn't exposed to technology. And this was my first time to see a laptop, because in my high school, we didn't have laptops. I got enrolled at University of Technology during the COVID-19 era. Things were not going as expected. Like I've said, I never saw a laptop, but I was enrolled in a technical degree. How am I going to do that? And the most communication I was exposed to is this phone. And I have to use a laptop to start with. Ladies and gentlemen, what I can say is mentors are important. Of course, my geography teacher was a teacher, but she had a mentorship mindset. If you want Africa to be on another stage, we need to have teachers who have mentorship mindset. Of course, you didn't make it as a teacher, but you have to teach the ladies, you have to teach the children to be more than what you achieved. Ladies and gentlemen, I believed that education would be a way to my success. However, we know in Africa we have limited resources, and it's very difficult for one to grab everything that I needed. And as soon as COVID-19 era finished, I then went back to school. I started seeing reality, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't know how to start with a Word document, of which my degree is technical. I have to do coding, I have to do machine learning, but I don't know how to create a Word document. It wasn't easy for me, ladies and gentlemen. But I utilized all the platforms that I thought could help me. The teachers at school saw a potential in me, and they always encouraged me to look for initiatives that could improve my experience. Ladies and gentlemen, I started engaging in student clubs, doing collaborations and partnership with different organizations. We were doing the lections, we were doing webinars, we were doing trainings all this to gain experience, because I knew the problem at school, that we only have 14 desktops, of which we are about 400 students. I don't have my personal laptop, and at school we have limited laptops. And all these initiatives, attending the workshops, learning from experts in the industry already, helped me to improve the experience, my capabilities. And ladies and gentlemen, it might look funny, but I started doing projects for people. I started helping students to do their dissertations, their theses, improving my technical skills every day. I started selling myself to different companies, and people started calling me Madam CEO. And I realized that one needs, it's not always about the teacher, but also us as students, we need to play our part. We need to invest not only in financial resources, but investing in self-belief. I utilized platforms like LinkedIn to build a strong support network. Most of the people undermine LinkedIn, but you never know what you post. You might just post that, I'm so happy to share that this is my first time to be at the airport. Someone might be motivated and look how you did it. Ladies and gentlemen, as students, we also need to look out for the opportunities. Do not just be ideal and hope for the best. Nothing comes on a silver platter. You have to work. It's not always about the part of the teachers, but also us as students. We need to play our role in building a strong support network. I always hear people saying, in Africa, there are no jobs, but the problem is us students, we want to look for jobs after school, of which it's not possible because there are a lot of competitions. You need to create connections. You need to connect while at least you are at school. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, we are in Africa, and things don't go as we expect. We have limited resources, we have high sanctions, high cost of living, and at some point, I started facing school fees challenges. I couldn't balance. Unfortunately, my father retired in 2010, that's 14 years ago, and the money he's getting is not enough to cater for my expenses. I'm spending more than 1,000 US a semester, and he's earning less than $100. And things started going tough. I thought of deferment at some point, but I utilized the skills that I had developed. I started doing projects for people. I started engaging with different organizations, doing projects for different people, earning some money. Fortunately, the outfit that I'm wearing today, I bought it by the money that I did. Sometimes, as girls, we lack self-confidence. We don't believe in ourselves. Being in a male-dominated field, geoinformatics and environmental conservation, sometimes you would feel that you are not fitting in here. I remember during attachment, I was attached at Anglo-American at a mine, and 3/4 of the people were male, and only a quarter were female. And sometimes I couldn't have the confidence to talk to the man and have decisions. But I thank God because I met mentors and coaches during my attachment. Those people, sometimes they would dedicate tasks that were very hard to me, and sometimes I would think, oh, do they want me to lose 50 kgs? Of which I weigh less than 50 kg, but I realized it was a way of mentoring me, encouraging me to push, to have a positive mind, different from the one. Imagine if I didn't get this opportunity, I would be a mother of 10 kids by now. But I thank God I met mentors who always pushed me to have a different mindset, to push in this male-dominated field. This field really needs someone who is muscular. Unfortunately, I'm not, but I always get the opportunity to meet people who encourages me to push forward. Mentorship has been one of the most important factors that helped me to move forward, to push, to have a different mindset from the people of my community. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what's next for me? I'm completing my undergrad degree next month. That's so in my final year, okay. In my final year, I did a project of quantifying forest cover loss and forest carbon sequestration potential in a mining area. I wanted to see how much impact is deforestation doing to the people, doing to the community. Because we know trees are carbon sinkers, and if you cut down those trees, we are contributing to global climate change impact. So that was my project, and I'm submitting it on Monday. And I also have an intention of establishing a GIS and climate initiative. Why? Because you teach what you know. And I'm going to teach because I now know. And I believe I now know, and the knowledge that I now have will be enough to teach the people in my community. People are doing degradation, they're cutting down trees, but they don't know the reason. They know why we should conserve our resources. So I want to spread awareness to my community members, not just my community members, but in Africa, so that people are aware of the activities that are doing. And lastly, I have a desire to pursue a master's degree, if funds permit. And mostly I'm motivated by this to change my family status. Unfortunately, no one in my family has ever gone to university, and I'm the first person. So I want to change my family status, that we can do it. Gender doesn't matter, we can do it. And I want to challenge the societal norms that girls can be CEOs, girls can be managers, girls can be directors, girls can be leaders of tomorrow. I always wanted to be my own boss. So I think you should also start calling me Madam CEO. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, today I stand confident that education really empowers innovation. I am a testimony of that. And ladies and gentlemen, investing in skills really fuels dreams. Let's embrace diversity and innovate Africa. Thank you.
Great job, Jenny. Wow. Madam CEO, wow. I told Mugami we had a long conversation yesterday. I said, I'm happy to be speaking to you now because I think in the future it's going to be difficult. I'm going to have to go through secretaries and various department heads and other things. So anyway, if you want to speak to Mugami, you don't have to deal with 3 levels of secretaries, at least not today. But what an inspiring story, and so remarkable that you know, the first encounter with digital technology at age 21 and starting a business, making money doing geospatial, you know, visualizations at age 23. A remarkable testament to the power of education and how quickly people can come to master these technologies and turn them into entrepreneurial opportunities. Thank you so much, Mungame. They're very inspiring. I'd like to now introduce our next speaker. It is Mr. Rogers Sitole, and Rogers is an entrepreneur and chairman of One Connect. Rogers, the floor is yours. Thank you.
What an amazing young lady. Well, Madam CEO. Wow. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, thank you so much for allowing me to be in your presence today, all protocol observed. My name is Roger Sitole, as Mark has indicated. I should have said Sanbonani. I'm from South Africa. I'm a founder and chairman of One Connect, as Mark has also indicated. One Connect is a 15-year-old baby. I said a baby yesterday, and someone said it's not a baby, that it's 15 years old. So it's a 15-year-old teenager, tech teenager, which is an African-born organization. We have got presence in the continent with specific physical offices in South Africa, Mozambique, in Maputo, and Nairobi, Kenya, servicing the continent. It's been a privilege for me to be part of this company. I am an African child, born, bred in the continent, schooled in the continent, qualified in the continent. So yeah, our education system is not that bad, is it? Fun fact about me, I'm a father of 5. 2 sets of twins. A boy, girl, and a little bugger who decided to come and mess up our peace. We were happy until young Alexander came to life. Just like many African children like myself, we have grew up in many challenging circumstances. Mongeni shared her experiences. I mean, she only had access to a computer a couple of years ago. Many kids in the continent still suffer through these challenging experiences. An amazing story was shared yesterday by Francis Bizoza, whom inspired me dearly. His story as an African traveling teacher inspired me to want to do better and do more. I'm not quite sure about you, but I made some notes to say, I perhaps need to get up off my laurels and do something better. We're quite privileged, some of us, and we do not understand the challenges that exist within the continent. Now, I was fueled by the need to break the cycle of poverty that existed in my family, at least. And with great support from my father and mother, I was able to go to school. My father and mother understood that education was the great equalizer for me to bridge the poverty gap. In my first year of university, unfortunately for us, for our family, my dad was retrenched. And at that time, I had a decision to make as the eldest boy in the family to go look for, I can't say for employment, but go look for a job, look for something to do to bring money and food into the family. My father quickly dealt with me. He reminded me that he was the man of the house and he was the father of the house. I was only but a boy, and my responsibilities were that to go to school. And I obeyed and I obliged and I went to school. There's nothing about my story, like I said. There's nothing special about it. But perhaps what might be special is just that desire that I had. Now, COVID came and exposed the gap that existed in the inequalities that exist within our society. Many quoted Nelson Mandela, that he spoke about the importance of education and how it can change the world. But what COVID did is many people suffered through this. UNESCO indicates that 40 weeks of teaching and learning were lost during this period. But if you think about who that 40 weeks impacted the most, are exactly those that needed that education the most. And they were set back quite a lot. Now, I spoke about challenges that exist in the continent. These are some of the challenges that you're seeing on the screen. I come from South Africa, who some might indicate that it's a better developed economy in the continent. But even in South Africa, we're struggling with the load shedding, with electricity challenges. And you know, that's perverse as well across the whole continent. I had a privilege of walking into a minister's office in one country in the continent, and I saw a picture similar to the one there. And I looked at the picture and I had nostalgia and I was taken aback, saying, wow, I cannot believe that those used to be the days. And the minister quickly responded to me and said, that's an actual school in a specific part, not even in the rural areas. It was quite an urban area. And I was taken aback about the fact that we still have, ladies and gentlemen, kids within our society that go to school under the trees in situations like the ones you are seeing on the screen. Now, we could look at that and say, oh, Rogers, did you come here just to depress us? I apologize if you feel depressed, but that's not the intent, nor the intention. As Africans, we're quite resilient. My aim is to show a proof point. I am privileged to be that proof point, in that today, I was able to rise from the dusty streets of my country, where I grew up, amongst the poverty that surrounded me, within the challenges that we're facing, and be able to have this privilege of standing in front of an amazing crowd and share my story. That's what I want you to know. I want you to know that as a continent, this beautiful continent, a young continent, a fast developing continent, we have got the ability and the capability to take our role, not only as leaders of our continent, but also as leaders in the world. Dr. Laila spoke about that we need to be exporting our skills in Africa to the rest of the world. Now, how do we do that? I've always spoken about this vision that I have. And my vision, ladies and gentlemen, is to democratize education in this beautiful continent. And every time I make that statement, I say it's such a political statement to make, and I am no politician. I'm merely a businessman. But what that statement means to me is that we need to ensure that each and every single child within the continent gets access to good, underlying, quality education, independent of their location within the continent, independent of their stage of life where they may be, independent of their financial status, independent of their gender, independent of their disabilities. They need to have access to good quality education, but also they need to have access to a good support system. The reason that I was able to succeed because I had parents that understood the importance of education. We have got a responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, to be that support system to young people like Madam CEO. Madam CEO, we have a responsibility to take people like her and be able to mentor and help become the next leaders of this beautiful continent of ours. Now, further to democratizing education is how do we democratize this education? There needs to be a great change or shift in mindset. We need to reimagine education. It's incredible that we are trying in this day, 2024, we're talking about AI, machine learning, we're talking about data science, we're talking about all these fancy things, yet some environments are still using models and methods from 1970, 1960 to train the workforce of tomorrow. That cannot be, that needs to be changed. Further, we need to foster entrepreneurship. We need to foster entrepreneurship, but also we need to support entrepreneurs of the continent. Thank you. Now, how do we do that? And I would like to challenge leaders, policymakers, those that are in positions of responsibility, that you need to make a decision today to say, I will support an African business. It's very funny that I had a privilege of participating in the ministerial roundtable, and one of the conversations that was had in the ministerial roundtable was around the brain drain that is happening within the continent. Now, that means skills in the continent are leaving the continent and leaving us with nothing. Now, every single individual will be looking for what is best for their family. They need to provide for their families. And if provisioning for their families exists outside in the world, that's where they will go. But if organizations and companies and businesses within our continent are supported, guess where they will go? They will be employed locally, and we will not be having brain drain challenges. But furthermore, we have got a huge unemployment problem within the continent. And the only way we can eradicate that is by supporting small, medium enterprises within the continent, supporting local businesses, supporting African businesses that are going to be able to employ local people. That's what we need to be doing. We also need to ensure that our procurement policies, wherever they are understanding of this challenge that exists within the continent, and we need to be deliberate about it. I've got a little incident that I have had in the past where I had a privilege to sit in front of a CEO in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and in that conversation, we spoke about what he can do to assist us as an organization. And he, in his mind, I think he was just sharing purely a good story that they were able to meet together and raise the R1 billion in one night. And he could link me up with the people that were managing the fund, and they could be able to assist One Connect in getting that fund. He did not expect the answer that he got from me. Because I responded and I said to him, sir, I really, really appreciate that opportunity. However, respectfully, I decline. I do not want funds. I need an opportunity within your organization for our company to provide services. If we provide services as a business, we are able to, one, we have got a reference customer that can be utilized elsewhere to procure more business. Two, we are able to have sustainable income as a business, and that makes us a going concern. Not be given money and then with a lot of strings that are attached to it, and you're going to stifle innovation, you're going to stifle the growth of the business. He looked at me and he was shocked to that, but he was able to assist us in moving forward. I thought the guys at the back will not mess me up with my slides, but I guess. Okay. But anyway, so the last part that I wanted to speak about was the fact that African problems are to be solved by Africans. We need African solutions for Africa. Am I making a statement that sounds, we're a groupist or something like that? No. The rest of the world has already figured out some of the solutions to the challenges that we have, because I understand very well that some of the challenges that we have as a continent are not unique. However, they are particular, so they need to be localized. As much as we may engage international organizations, international partners that can come and assist us, it's going to be important and imperative that we also localize these solutions within the African context. Once more, in closing, my message is that of hope. It's not a message of doom and gloom. It's a message of hope to other budding entrepreneurs out there, that it is possible. To you, Madam CEO, it is absolutely possible. I am a standing example of exactly that, who has gone through those challenges. And I'm proud today that through this beautiful event, we are one of the platinum sponsors of this event. We've been a sponsor of this event for a few years now because we believe in what this event stands for, and that is to democratize education in Africa. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Rogers, for those remarks. Democratizing education, ensuring that digital solutions for Africa come from Africa. And I think some of that resonates with what we've been saying at UNESCO and UNICEF as well, that when countries want to build these public digital learning platforms, that this is an opportunity to give tenders and to give opportunities to businesses and content creators and technologists inside of countries rather than moving outside. So this really resonated with me. Folks, we're fortunate we have a little bit of time for exchange, for discussion. So if you have a question, a comment, a reaction, we would like to invite that. I'd like to ask that you keep it sharp and concise. So think if you have a question, but I wanted to give the floor back to Charles, given that Charles is the education specialist for UNICEF here in Rwanda. And Charles, just any sort of reactions to some of the speakers we have heard from, the presentations we have heard. Over to you, Charles.
Thank you, Mark. Maybe I can come over and sit there, please. Hello. I think I just want to once again also congratulate CEO, Madam CEO, because as a teacher, I think there's nothing that you can be very proud of beyond having, somebody who really from the bottom, if I can say, has capitalized on the value and the importance and the equalizing effect of education to rise to the top. She's not reached the top, she wants to reach even higher, but it shows that education is really, really critical. It has to be democratic, I agree, but without education, it's impossible to identify talent, to identify potential, and to also benefit from potential of. So I really want to congratulate you. The other point I want to make is that talent, sometimes we know it's everywhere, but it's something that is equal. Everybody has it. The only challenge we have is that we don't know where and who has it. But it's education that brings it out. So if we really make education equal to everybody, it's going to benefit everybody. And technology has made it even much better, as she has said. She used the technology even though the experience was only 2 years So I think what we, just to link it to the gateway, if you don't make it through the public, if you make it through the private service provision, it's not going to reach everybody. It's the public sector that has the responsibility, that has the capacity, the mandate to deliver for everybody. So I think the gateway, that's why the gateway is very important. So if you want to deliver content that is high quality, that is meant to be for everybody for free, it's only the public service that can provide that. It's the public sector that can provide that. So all the other actors need to support the public sector to make sure that technology reaches the last corner of every country. And I think that's what I can add. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Charles. So looking forward to questions, reactions, feedback. Let's take a few in, and then maybe we can direct them to some of our speakers. I see Sir right here in the front, gentleman in the middle, and if we could move mics to these individuals. So again, sharp and concise, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the exciting presentations. My name is Namango. I come from Kenya, and I teach chemical engineering. My question goes to Sithole. And on one hand, you are talking about complaining about brain drain. And on one hand, you want young Africans to remain and develop the continent. So how do we do the balance? How do we deal with it? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, sir. If we can move the microphone to the gentleman in the middle who had his hand up. Thank you. In the middle.
Thank you. My name is Johannes, I heard the term public digital learning, we just heard about the public service provider should be in charge to solve the problem. And where is the digital internet? Where can it be found in the internet? So I'm actually glad that you started your introduction with with radio today. Because we have public broadcasters, and we are looking for a public digital education provider. So I think the very, very near and close solution that we haven't spoken about it is a digital radio, the introduction of digital radio, because it can carry digital content into the last corner of every place in the world. And actually, we are showing that here, but I don't want to make advertising for my company. I just want to talk about that. We talk about this great solution that can be also very quick and is very cheap. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A few other questions, comments, reactions. Ma'am, in the front.
Thank you, facilitator. I am Rudoch Tiga, Secretary for Skills Audit and Development in Zimbabwe. I am very proud. And as I listen to young Mongeni, I am very proud. I would like to ask you, what would you tell the girls in Shurugwe who today think it's actually easier to just hang out with a minor and make money, which they think or they look like they are making more money than you are? So there's a parallel lifestyle that is going on that seems very attractive to young girls. What would you tell them? And Mr. Stolle, how do we create a new mindset, given your discussion with the billionaire? The usual answer from our entrepreneurs is, yes, I will take the money. How do we create a mindset that we are entrepreneurs for good? This is what we are going to do. And there is this half entrepreneur, half beggar mentality that I always come across among our entrepreneurs, whether young or old. And my question for the Gateway project, if you look at Connect, it was connectivity, it was capacity, it was content. In government, in my experience, we have 3 different actors in their silos responsible. The connectivity person is the Minister of ICT or something. The content person is the Minister of Education. The capacity person is me in Ministry of Skills. And everyone thinks they have their own kingdom. What strategies did you use to bring them together for a common project? Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam, for the question. Let's get one more question, and then we'll hand it back to our panelists. Yeah, ma'am, in the back there.
I'm Mildred Ayere from Maseno University, Kenya. To Mark, maybe just could you help us understand? Kenya is grappling with CBC as a new educational curriculum, and I think it's a good idea, but we lack the requisite skill set among the teachers because they were not trained for this. As UNESCO, is there something you can do to step in the upskilling of the teachers for the digital education to succeed in the CBC, because it really is a need?
Great, thank you very much for that question. I wanted to hand it back to some of our panelists for reactions. Mongeni, a few questions for you, especially from your colleague from Zimbabwe, please.
Hello. Okay. Firstly, I think I would tell them that your money is the best. Spending your own money is the best. There is nothing which is more enjoyable than having money that has no restrictions, no rules and regulations. Being your own boss. And we really know that these people that are doing illegal gold mining activities, one day things might change. And you'll be a mother of 10 kids without money. And at the same time, poverty will show you the way. So what I can tell them is, let's change before it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. I've got 2, Mark. One is the brain drain versus youth or people remaining in the continent to build a continent. Actually, my messaging was that people need to remain in the continent to build a continent. That was my messaging. The brain drain is a phenomenon that is happening, and remaining in the continent to build a continent is the solution. But that solution needs to be backed by existence of opportunities. If opportunities for employment do not exist within the continent, survival says people are going to go to where they will be able to survive. And as such, it's crucial and important for us to support local businesses and to make sure that we build entrepreneurs, we foster entrepreneurship, we build entrepreneurs in the continent, we support them. Because ultimately what they will be doing is to ensure that those skills are retained in the continent. When you're in the aeroplane, and I never understood it, by the way, but when you're in the plane, they say you must put your mask first before you can help your child. I find that very strange. But if you think about it, they're saying you must be alive first before you can help someone. Now, as a continent, for us to be able to export any skills to the rest of the world, we need to make sure that we as a continent are sufficient. We as a continent are okay. We are alive as a continent. Then we'll be able to export our skills to the rest of the world. That is the first one. The second one, from the ambassador, thank you, ma'am, for the question. And your question is around mindset. Wow, that's a difficult question around mindset. But for me, the answer is on proof points. We've got people that like to see first, is it possible? And if all what they're seeing around them is all the guys that have, all the people, young women, young lady, men and women that have tried to start their own businesses, they are struggling, they are having difficult time, they are stressed and all. If that's all they see, then the moment a quick buck comes in, the moment an easy opportunity comes in, they will go for it. Because we have created an environment in the continent that is difficult and not conducive for entrepreneurship. It's not conducive for business. And I think it's incumbent on all of us here to change that mindset. And when I say we need to reimagine education, we talk about innovative technologies today. We're talking about the workforce of tomorrow. Now, you have got the workforce of tomorrow are going to be dealing with tech that we don't even understand today. And it's going to be important and imperative for us, ma'am, that we support that, because we will continually, if we don't do that, we'll continually be importing and then exporting money, if you understand what I mean. And we're going to need to support local businesses. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much, Rogers. Charles, we had a question about this interface. You're very correct, ma'am, about building a great public digital learning content doesn't mean necessarily teachers are able and know how to use it. That interface to be able to use great digital learning content that is free, open, and accessible is something we're paying close attention to. But I don't know, Charles, we were discussing that earlier. Did you want to respond?
Yeah, I think that's why it comes as a package, right? So without the digital skills, you won't be able to make use of these. So even though different government entities have, I think also the madam from Zimbabwe said that have mandate for different areas, it's still critical as role of the government to see. I don't know whether anyone was here when they had the Innovation Africa also summit here, where the focus was also to say, as a government, you need to have a vision so that the different entities contribute towards a collective. If you don't have a digital vision, what do we want to use technology for as a government? Because there's several aspects of it. So if that vision is created, and then the different arms of government will easily fit in, because you can't have everything put in one place. So if it's a curriculum department that has a new, the CBC that requires digital skills, then that has to be taken into consideration. So I think the leadership from the government. I want to add one more point linked to the brain drain aspect. I think from the government side, the brain drain issues is also the lack of vision, the broader vision. For instance, here, if you don't have institutions that strive to make things world-class, if, for instance, Rwanda, I think Rwanda is already doing that, and there is a vaccine institute coming up here. So if you set up a vaccine institute, that that provides services globally. You know, people are going to come even from Europe to go and work here. So the brain drain can also work the other way. So the environment, the policy environment, the leadership, it's very critical also for that. And that's why you will, yeah.
Thank you very much, Charles. I also just wanted to respond. Sir, you mentioned digital radio. Yes, I think that we don't, even though we're in an internet era, an AI era, we don't want to shut down any of these public content offerings we have built. Many people still rely on public radio for education, for information, also for entertainment. Same with television. Children around the world are being educated by public television. I think it's now incumbent on us to ensure that there is public resources and great public content that's available online, and also through AI applications. We've all looked at these sort of commercial AI applications. What might a public AI model look like? What sort of answers would that sort of model give? Probably accurate, truthful, and again, in harmony with sort of national objectives and goals. The Permanent Secretary from Zimbabwe, she mentioned the importance of intersectoral cooperation. You're absolutely right. Those 3 C's often sit inside of different ministries. And I just wanted to note that while the Gateways Initiative is very focused on the content C, we do have mechanisms. We have a digital transformation collaborative at UNESCO, a UNESCO Global Education Coalition that is working to help ministries work together and also cooperatively with the private sector to solve these sort of solutions and build these whole of government solutions. So that's another aspect. I finally wanted to say that we have noticed at UNESCO that when countries build good public digital learning platforms, the offerings of private providers get better. They get more innovative. When you put the sort of the middle bar, if I may, the public bar high, the sort of private offerings have to show more innovation. So this is something that a good public digital learning platform can rise all boats. And I'll tell you also that I have never seen a public digital learning platform that is not working collaboratively with the private sector. That behind the scenes, they have all sorts of agreements and they're working with private sector companies to surface sort of the best content, the most engaging content. So I think this is something where everybody wins if we have these, if we're supporting public education in online and digital mediums. We started a little late. I want to take just a few more questions. We'll take one more round, but I'm looking at the table right here in the front and center because I know this is where government authorities, some permanent secretaries, people who are former ministers, current ministers, people thinking about education in a position to influence policy. Were there any questions or comments from the table in the front here? Excellent. We have 3.
Bonjour à tous. Je suis le ministre de l'Enseignement supérieur de la Recherche de Centrafrique, professeur Jean-Laurent Sissamagalé. J'ai suivi avec beaucoup d'intérêt les commentaires et je crois que je vais essayer de parler de 3 modèles, 3 exemples qui permettent de pouvoir comprendre. Je vais prendre dans le domaine du football. Vous prenez les enfants, ils savent jouer, mais si vous leur donnez donc maintenant là des chaussures de foot, quand bien même ils sont bons, on peut dire qu'ils ne sont pas bons. Et ce que je veux dire par là, c'est que nous avons des talents, et ces talents-là, il faudrait que les numériques arrivent à leur niveau. Parce que vous ne pouvez pas demander, en termes de comparaison, vous ne pouvez pas demander à un enfant qui n'a jamais vu la mer, de dessiner la mer, de dessiner un château. Or, si on donne ces outils aux enfants, si on arrive à accéder, ils peuvent exceller. Le modèle est là, la PDG. Donc ça veut dire que, et vous voyez même, quand on a regardé le football, à un moment donné, tous les bons joueurs partaient donc, en Europe, etc. On a une très bonne qualité. Mais qu'est-ce qui se passe? Vous prenez l'Égypte, vous prenez Sud-Afrique, maintenant les gens restent devant les très bons joueurs locaux. Ça veut dire que par rapport à cette fuite de cerveau, si on arrive à les mettre dans des conditions, ils peuvent exceller et rester sur place. Donc, nous, politiques, comme disait donc le représentant de l'UNESCO, comment arriver à mettre à disposition, accessible, ces enfants-là, je crois qu'on va exploser dans la mesure où, quand on regarde notre démographie, et on va dominer le monde. Voilà un peu ma vision des choses. On change de mentalité, c'est-à-dire qu'on ne peut pas, comme disait tout à l'heure, les normes, nos normes, c'est-à-dire que, voilà, vous donnez, comment dire, une orange à un enfant, il est capable d'inventer une petite voiture dessinée, alors que l'autre, on va dire qu'il n'est pas intelligent. Or, il est intelligent, mais il n'a pas les outils nécessaires. Voilà. Donc, ces talents-là, on doit aller les chercher, et leur dire que, faire confiance, leur donner confiance. On change de mentalité. On est capable d'eux. Et on va changer le monde. J'ai dit.
Merci. Ma'am, from Cameroon, please.
Thank you very much. I want to start by appreciating the speakers of this morning, especially the CEO. You are a force to reckon with, and you are a model to display to our young girls in Africa. The truth is, thank you, girls easily give up. Women even more. But once they have the push and the role modeling that you're talking about, they have the inner strength to overcome. And you have shown by that example. We have noticed in many of our countries that, especially at the elementary and basic level where I operate, that the need for training is very crucial. The need for mentoring is very crucial. And I dare say that we want to appreciate the work that UNESCO has been doing in Cameroon to train our teachers. The phobia is real. For the teacher to be able to teach a little child in IT that she or he himself has not mastered is a bit of a challenge. But we think that gradually with the training, teachers are overcoming this. In our country also, we set up IT institutions which are open to the public. When COVID came, it was a boost for Cameroon to really delve into IT. Many of us got acquainted to our computers, to our laptops, because we had to communicate from home. Work had to continue. School had to continue. And since then, we've kept our online classes going. But I'm really so grateful that the public platform that UNESCO is bringing is something that we'll need to engage in. And of course, when I get back, I'll make sure that my ministry is connected to UNESCO in this. The problem that she raised about several ministries in charge of education can be quite complicated. In Cameroon, there are 4 separate ministries of education. There's basic education, there's secondary education, there's higher education, and there is vocational training. The good thing is that all of them, the government has a vision for digital growth in Cameroon. Therefore, when we have ministerial cabinet meetings, we share what each ministry is doing, and then we take good practices from each other. But as a woman, I want to congratulate again our CEO and to thank One Connect for what you're doing. You're relatively a young entrepreneur, but your impact is already felt around the world. Thank you very much for that, and I hope other young entrepreneurs here. There's Kizito from Cameroon. I hope you listen to this. He too is, you're here? Oh, great. That is one of them too who is engaged in IT, and I suspect that he'll be going back to Cameroon with all other contacts to expand his work in the IT and AI sectors. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I wanted to just get, I know we're running short on time, but just saw two other hands up at this table, so we'll take those two comments and then we'll close. Yeah, please, go ahead, sir.
Merci. Je suis Maxime Balalou, le ministre de la Communication et des Médias dans mon pays, la République centrafricaine. Moi, je voudrais rapidement féliciter les organisateurs. Je vous assure qu'en participant à ce forum important, j'ai mesuré la place de nous, hommes politiques, parce que le déterminant, c'est la volonté politique. Vous savez, tout à l'heure, on a dit que l'éducation est la clé du pouvoir. Nous pouvons développer la compétitivité dans n'importe quel pays que si nous avons des gens formés. Et quand on voit en Afrique la place de la jeunesse, qui occupe plus de 70%, nous avons une mission d'encadrer, d'équiper. Et avec cette quatrième révolution industrielle, basée sur le développement numérique, nous voyons notre rôle en tant que leader et la mission qui nous incombe à non seulement accompagner, soutenir. Et quand on parle de l'éducation d'une manière globale, mais le numérique concerne la vie. C'est un nouveau défi pour lequel j'estime, avec tous ces potentiels que nous avons découverts, l'avenir de l'Afrique, pour moi, je suis fier de ces capacités et je crois que nous allons avoir une nouvelle vision, une nouvelle Afrique, avec des potentiels qu'on doit exploiter pour que nous rattrapions aussi les autres nations. Je vous remercie.
Merci, monsieur. Merci beaucoup. And I think you're right, there is a lot of potential for new vision, new directions to move, and establishing these public, harnessing the internet for public uses and public good. That's, I think, no continent has really set that model, and I think Africa could be a continent that sets that model. Sir, last comment here, and then we're going to break for lunch. So please, sir, go ahead.
No, thank you so much. I'm Mangan Katundu, Secretary for Education for Malawi. I would like to really appreciate our presenters, Connect and Madam CEO, quite inspiring presentations. With regard to Madam CEO's presentation, the issue of balancing between entrepreneurship and studying, because she was studying, that sometimes can be a challenge with our students, and also making sure that there are policies that would allow that to happen while students are in school, because you need to have the time both for your learning and so on. So access to jobs is important. And so in the case of the CEO from Connect, I appreciated your mindset regarding the access to capital. But some enterprises require intensive capital, and they will require some support at the beginning. If you're in agriculture, you might need to access equipment, which you may not have. So sometimes grants and support can have a place, including what they call apprenticeships for those who are starting up, so that they can build a reputation of being able to deliver. So production also, e-learning presents an opportunity in different countries for production of e-learning equipment, laptops, tablets, and as countries we may need to be looking at what is the opportunity to promote economic activity, entrepreneurship, while we are supporting e-learning within the country, so that we're not always importing everything. There are things to import, but there are things that we need to start producing in country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I think those comments were very much comments. I mean, they give us sort of a direction, what perspectives you're seeing from governments in the region, in the continent. So I thank you for those comments, and I want to give a final round of applause to our excellent panel here. and have a great lunch. We look forward to seeing you in the afternoon. Thank you very much.